I'm pleased to announce an investment of up to $21.8 million through Ontario's Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Health and Safety Water Stream, that's a mouthful, to support the construction of a new wastewater treatment facility here in Schreiber.
Wastewater, we don't think about it all the time, but if it's not working, we don't have health. We have nothing really, right? We know what it's like being out in the bush. We can manage that, but that's not what we want in our towns.
Today is an exciting and defining moment for our community. Securing this major infrastructure grant is a tremendous achievement, one that reflects the confidence others have in our town and the belief we have in ourselves.
On April the 7th at 7 p.m. right here in the Recreation Center, we're going to hold another public meeting. And what this public meeting is going to do is present what the new wastewater treatment plant will look like, what the reasons are that led us to being in this position.
I'm here to find out what's happening in our community. There's a special meeting, and of course I wouldn't miss it.
I'm Tammy, Ivey, Director of Operations for the Township of Schreiber. Our motivation for this project is the cost of operating our existing plant. It is structurally unsound. We're really on borrowed time. So this grant couldn't come at a better time, and we can better service our residents by building an addition, upgrading our plant and improving our treatment train so that we can ensure good quality water going down to Lake Superior. That's our main priority, is to stay compliant with the regulations.
So I'm Rhonda Smith, the CAO clerk for the Township of Schreiber, and this is part 2 of our presentation and open house to our residents to discuss our new wastewater treatment plant now that the province of Ontario has provided us with 73% of the funding that we required for this new plant. And we're really excited to let the public know what it's all about and what it's going to look like. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. I'm the CAO clerk for the Township of Schreiber, Rhonda Smith. And it's great to see this many people out again to learn about our new wastewater treatment plant. It's exciting. I just want to start off by doing a land acknowledgement. So I'd like to begin this evening by acknowledging that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory and that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Métis. So tonight, our agenda will be, I'm going to introduce you to our panelists. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of our plant, what our resolution is to fix it, the next steps, and at the very end, we'll do some questions and answers. I just want to ask everybody to please keep it about the wastewater treatment plant and to be kind when you're asking questions. Okay? So from the township tonight, we have Mayor Kevin Mullins with us. You guys could just raise your hands maybe. We have the Deputy Mayor, Anne-Marie Bourgeau. Councillor Dan McGrath. We have Councillor Dave Morrow here with us and Councillor Benji Bryson and the Director of Operations, Tammy Ivey, and our Economic Development Officer, Jamie Spadoni, and of course myself. And from Crescent, we have Chris Crescent, who is the engineering firm who has designed our lovely new plant. And from Aqua, we have Patrick Albert and Patrick Couture. So everybody will be available for questions at the end. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the history of the plant. I better get with the program and follow my own, eh? So the Schreiber wastewater treatment plant was constructed in the mid-1970s. An expansion project took place in the 1990s to increase the treatment capacity. The MCC, the Motor Control Center, was inside the clarifier building and had to be relocated to a non-hazardous environment. On July 25th of 2024, a written warning was received from the Environment and Climate Change Canada stating that the Schreiber wastewater treatment plant was in contravention of the Fisheries Act, wastewater systems effluent regulations. A response letter was drafted and provided to the fisheries officer. Okay, so council and administration have been lobbying since 2019 on various wastewater treatment plant issues, including help with the mandated dechlorination project. Mayor Mullins has had at least 5 meetings with Minister Kingma, who is the provincial Minister of Infrastructure. In 2021, council and administration started lobbying for help with the mandated ESA upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. And now we're going to talk about what the life expectancy is. So a typical wastewater treatment plant has a total lifespan of approximately 40 to 50 years. But the mechanical and electrical equipment, including components within the clarifiers and the bagging systems, usually requires significant overhauls or replacement every 15 to 20 years. So key life expectancy factors for Ontario are: the total plant life is 40 to 50 years for concrete structures and buildings. Clarifier mechanisms is 15 to 20 years for drives and scrapers through, though some well-maintained units can last for 40 years. Mechanical and electrical equipment is roughly 15 to 20 years, like pumps, motors, and conveyors. Bagging systems, due to the corrosive high moisture environment, sludge bagging handling equipment may require faster replacement cycles of every 10 to 15 years, if not highly maintained through the structural components to make it last longer. Regulatory design life. In Ontario, sewage treatment plants are often designed based on a 20-year projected growth forecast for capacity planning. So the state of emergency. On August 1st of 2024, Mayor Mullins declared a state of emergency. The declaration was a precaution in order to access additional government resources and funding during the resolution phase to protect the health and safety of our residents, businesses, and the environment. So we had some unexpected costs that were incurred since 2019. So as you can see, in 2019, we spent $59,000. 2020 was $31,000, 2140, and so on. So in total, up to the end of 2025, we had spent $1.5 million on upgrades to the current wastewater plant to gain compliance. This included repairs such as the bagging system, fluorinator parts, lighting repairs, feasibility studies, sludge pump replacement, and a blower motor replacement. Council and senior administration did not take the written warning lightly. Well, at the AMO conference held in Ottawa in August of 24, we presented the NDP caucus and Honorable Kingma, Minister of Infrastructure, with a delegation outlining our wastewater treatment plant's issues and what it would cost the municipality without the provincial funding. Council and senior administration did not stop lobbying the provincial government for assistance. We pleaded our case and met with both the Minister of Infrastructure and the NDP caucus during our attendance at the Roma conference in January of 2025. So our next steps. Repair work of the wastewater treatment plant began under the state of emergency. We had our feasibility assessment study was completed. The process assessment study was completed. Condition assessment study was completed. Whoops. And the more that the contractors tried to repair, the more they uncovered additional structural deficiencies. An RFP was placed to procure the engineering firm to conduct the 3 above-mentioned studies. The results were not surprising, unfortunately. and Crescent Engineering was the winning contractor for the studies. So what did the Crescent reports reveal? So most critically, the concrete tanks for the concentric plant 1 show signs of severe and external deterioration and have failed around pipe penetrations and within the wall itself. Without further detailed investigations, the concrete tanks for concentric plant 1 have been deemed to be beyond economic repair. The concrete structures for concentric plant 2 show signs of similar surface deterioration and require surface treatment to mitigate premature failure. The sludge disposal system is obsolete, sourcing replacement parts is cumbersome, and the process itself is a health and safety hazard. So concentric plant 1 concrete condition. It's hard to see in the picture, but there is, right here, you can see the crack in the foundation. So if this wall were to give away, the environmental impact would be catastrophic. Our deteriorated clarifier 1 mechanism. So as you can see in the photo, the mechanism is very corroded and outdated. In order to do any maintenance or repair, the entire concentric plant needs to be emptied and sanitized before workers can safely enter the plant for repair. This is expensive and time-consuming. The obsolete sludge bagging system. The system was manufactured in England and is so antiquated that parts are next to impossible to obtain. The Aqua staff should be credited for thinking outside of the box to fabricate parts to keep this old girl running. Lake Superior. Lake Superior is the world's largest freshwater lake. It's home to 78 species of fish, including lake trout, pumpkin seed, lake sturgeon, and walleye, just to mention a few. Once treated, our effluent discharges into Lake Superior. We must be the best stewards ever to preserve our pristine lake and its inhabitants. Once treated and our effluent discharges into the lake, we have to watch our ecosystems. Receiving funding through the province is vital to our contributions to the preservation of the lake. Lake Superior is part of the National Marine Conservation Authority and has strict federal restrictions. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Tammy Ivey and have her come up and continue on for a little bit.
Okay, so the process assessment, these were the results. Chemical and biological characteristics from sampling locations throughout the plant and plant effluent played an integral role in unveiling potential operational issues at the plant. The aerobic digesters do not have the ability to meet the plant's rated average capacity of 1,300 cubic meters per day. The plant has a long history of having effluent with a pH of less than 6. The ideal pH for effluent is between 6.5 and 8.5. A review of the dissolved oxygen concentrations in the aeration tank indicates that there is generally not enough dissolved oxygen for adequate treatment. During the field investigation, pungent odors were observed in the sludge pumping building, which is another indicator that there is not enough oxygen being mixed throughout the plant process. So what does this mean? Crescent Engineering gave the township 3 options to remedy the issues. Alternative 1 is to upgrade the existing wastewater treatment plant with recommended upgrades. Alternative 2, replace existing wastewater treatment plant, with a new packaged plant. And 3, do nothing. So alternative 1, prioritize prioritizes maintaining the wastewater treatment plant in its current operating configuration while rehabilitating existing assets like-for-like replacements and retrofitting, replacing existing processes to allow for the implementation of preferred alternate technologies. This alternative includes the rehabilitation recommendations from both the condition and process assessments and consider 2025 base costing established for each asset within the asset condition database. The proposed retrofit projects include SCADA integration and security upgrades, a backup generator, grit chamber upgrades to automated bar screen, pH neutralization, conversion of chlorine contact chamber to an open channel UV disinfection, and a sludge bagging system replacement. This alternative assumes that the concrete tanks for concentric plant 1 are able to be rehabilitated economically. However, additional studies to review the structural integrity of the concentric plant unit 1 to confirm the extent of the structural degradation and if the tanks are able to be refurbished. Alternative 2, assuming that the concentric plant 1 is not able to be rehabilitated economically and that the new package plant will replace both treatment trains at the Schreiber wastewater treatment plant. It is assumed that portions of the headworks and existing effluent works will be retained. For the purpose of evaluating this alternative, a packaged RBC plant that includes clarification and UV disinfection in an Napier reed was considered when evaluating the feasibility of providing a modernized alternative for treating wastewater. Given the immediate need to upgrade Schreiber's wastewater treatment plant, a packaged RBC plant is an efficient and cost-effective wastewater treatment solution that requires a minimal startup period. Other benefits of the RBC plant include simple and compact design, minimal maintenance and easy operation, modular installation to allow for expansion, plant seating is not required, low noise and odor production, and high resistance to shock toxic loading. The assessment of cost for this alternative is based on budgetary costing provided by RBC supplier Napier Reed and similar historic project costs. Alternative 3 is to do nothing. Do nothing assumes that the plant will continue to operate without implementing any of the recommendations and/or preferred plant upgrade projects. This alternative does not address township concerns, nor does it improve plant performance, and therefore was not carried forward for further assessment. Alternative 3 could never be an option, as this would cost the municipality even more: monetary fines, jail time, and a complete failure of our wastewater treatment plant. So the financial impact, alternative 1, this alternative will cost the municipality roughly $13.5 million in mandated MECP repairs that will provide the plant a hopeful additional 5 to 6 years of life. Alternative 2, the alternative will cost the municipality $29.9 million and provide a new plant with a life expectancy of 40 to 50 years. It is the role of council to be fiscally responsible with the township's money. It would make no sense to spend almost 50% of what a new plant would cost to only add an additional 5 to 6 years of life expectancy. At the Ontario Good Roads Conference held in Toronto in March, we lobbied to the NDP caucus, how all state of emergency expenses would be eligible no matter what caused the damage. The Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance in Ontario, municipal expenses incurred during a declared state of emergency or a significant natural disaster can be reimbursed through the Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance Program. This program is activated by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to help municipalities recover from extraordinary, unexpected natural disasters. The municipal eligibility criteria: to be eligible for the Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance, a municipality must meet the following criteria. It must have a trigger event, a sudden, unexpected, and extraordinary natural disaster, such as a flood, tornado, earthquake, or wildfire. The threshold is eligible disaster-related costs must exceed 3% of the municipality's owned proposed taxation levy. Actions: the municipal council must pass a resolution and submit an initial claim with supporting documentation with 120 calendar days of the disaster. Insurance: only costs not covered by the insurance are eligible. Eligible expenses: eligible costs are those that are incremental, meaning they go above and beyond the regular operating and capital budgets. Operating cost, operating or emergency services, evacuation and transportation, temporary staff overtime, debris removal, and renting emergency equipment such as generators or pumps. Capital cost, repairing or restoring public infrastructure such as roads, bridges, or buildings to a pre-disaster condition. Unrecoverable HST, the unrecoverable portion of HST paid by the municipality. As you can see, the structural issues at the wastewater treatment plant do not qualify under the Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance. And I think I turn it back over to Rhonda at this point.
Okay, so where can we find the assistance? So after several conversations with Minister King Masurma, the Health and Safety Water Stream Fund was released. This is a grant that is 73% covered by the province and 27% by the municipality or other funding. So Ontario announced that they were investing $700 million in critical water infrastructure to protect communities and support housing. The Health and Safety Water Stream will help municipalities and First Nations build, expand, or rehabilitate aging water, wastewater, stormwater, flood, and erosion infrastructure. So the application process. So this kind of explains how the new plant is actually going to cost us the $29 million. So the state of emergency cost that we couldn't cover under the relief program was the $589,000. Project startup, detailed design reports, etc., was another 1.0 million. The replacement of the treatment plant, the packaged RBC plant, was 20 million. Decommissioning of our current plant is another 1.5, and we had to include a contingency. So 25% was a pretty safe number to include. So that brought us to the total of the $29,943,940. With the provincial contribution of 73%, the municipal contribution is the remaining shortfall of the $8,084,864. So we got word in November, congratulations to Schreiber, that the province has contributed the $21.859 million. So we got that news on November 27th. We received an email from the Ministry of Infrastructure congratulating us on being a successful recipient. The total project cost, allowing us 73% of the total project cost to replace our existing wastewater plants. So this was one of the original drawings of where the new plant would fit into the current footprint, but we do have a revised drawing at the back of the room. It's being adjusted, the new RDC building has been moved, and the grit chamber, I believe, has been moved. But the last drawing in the back would show you that. So the footprint will stay relatively the same, and we will see minimal change to the property size. Concentric plant 1 will be decommissioned, and concentric plant 2 will be used for sludge storage. The new plant will eliminate the amount of chemicals that we are using, as the treatment process will consist of UV lighting. So that will save the municipality a lot right there. So to talk about the funding shortfall, before I get into this, I just want to say, because this is a worst case scenario, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that council in no way, shape or form has agreed, or by bylaw, resolution, nothing, that this is how that $8 million shortfall will be covered, okay? So I just want to make that very clear. This was just a concept that was put together by staff and presented to council as an alternative. Also though, today, Prime Minister Carney did announce that there's going to be a new funding stream that the federal government has is dropping down to the whole country actually. Ontario's getting, I think, the lion's share of the funding. So we will definitely be applying to the federal government for the remaining $8 million. That is the goal, ultimate goal of council and administration, that this new plant will not be the burden of the taxpayer. So I just want everybody to know that council, please don't yell at council for anything you see on the screen, okay? So it's important, though, to note that the goal remains, like I said, to acquire additional funding from other sources to eliminate or lessen the burden on our ratepayers, okay? We're continuing our plight to the federal government for assistance with the shortfall. So option 2, in a worst case scenario, administration had proposed to council, no decisions once again have been made, that in order to cover, if we did not get any federal funding, that the $8 million shortfall could come from a 5% capital levy for over the next 4 years. And I just want to say again, council did not agree to any of this, okay? So how does this affect you? So it would be an unprofessional and unrealistic of me to make a promise to you today that we can guarantee additional funding. I couldn't guarantee the first 22 million, and I certainly am not going to guarantee the next 8, okay? But it's what we can promise is that we'll not stop until we have asked every available agency and funder for additional help. We started lobbying, as I said earlier in the slides, way back in 2019, and we will continue to lobby to get more assistance so it's not a burden on our ratepayers, okay? So what could you guys do as ratepayers to help us? So you can help us lobby the federal government and the province. Write letters to our local MPs and MPPs. Lobby the importance of the township receiving this additional funding. Lobby to the provincial and federal governments to increase CPP and old age to achieve a fair representation of the cost of living in your community. Other things you could do is provide the municipality with letters of support to receive additional funding. Those letters that you guys could write, we can include with our application. And we can also present it to ministers as we meet them up the stream. So if anybody's willing, it's certainly helpful to the township. So that concludes our presentation. So now we're going to get into some questions, but I just want to remind everybody, please remain respectful. Limit yourself to one question or comment at a time. And there'll be a time limit to both the questioner and the respondent, okay? So that we're not here all night. Also, disrespectful behavior will lead to your being asked to leave the building, okay? So we'll take some questions now. Jamie's gonna go around with the microphone. If anybody has questions.
First of all, I want to commend the town council for trying their best. I know I've been on council and I know how thankless that job can be at times, especially when you're hit with stuff like this. But you mentioned a contingency plan.
So the contingency, that was part of the application. We had, when we made the application to the province, we had a 25% contingency in the application. And that, what that covers is if something were to happen and costs were to increase, because when we put the application in, it was in 25. But now when building, as building happens in 26, 27, those costs may increase. So what the contingency does is it allows for that buffer in pricing.
Maybe we should hire the 80 brothers and we'll have a cost minus job. Rather than a cost plus. I hate to ask another question.
Yeah.
Okay, this new plant, the old plant, I'm under the impression the old plant was built considering there were about 2,000 people in town. So it had to handle the effluent from 2,000 people. We now have 1,000 people in this town. And the plant that you're showing there looks quite a bit larger than the old one. So what is the new plant going to be capable of doing? Is it going to be capable of 5,000 people? You guys got some plans for a mine or something here? What's going on? We'd like to know. I'd like to invest some money.
Do one of you two want to answer the question?
Yeah, so what the capacity needs to look forward to is you want to be probably around 30-40% capacity just in case of growth, but there's also a lot of different factors. So there's spring thaw, a lot of snow this year, and a lot of flows. So a lot of flows at one period of time. Are you hearing me? Yeah. Sorry. So a lot of flows get into those facilities in a short period of time in the spring with spring melt, or any other kind of weather event, heavy rains. The plant has to be able to consider that and be able to treat that to its maximum level to keep all parameters below the regulations, so and below the limits. So that's why the capacity is stated that way and not so much on population, although population is a part of it. It's those spring events and those melts and those heavy rains and heavy flows, kind of all in one period of time that goes through. The plant has to be able to take that on.
Okay. Any other?
When I get depressed, I eat.
Okay, so on that statement, what's our minimum and our maximum? If that plant's gonna run at 40% and we have a 100-year storm or one of these events where it's weather or snowing, what's our maximum that plant can hold?
I don't have those numbers offhand, Chris. 4,500 cubic meters?
Yeah. So if the plant that we have now, what was its capacity?
So the capacity is not going to change in terms of the current plant and the new plant.
So is there room for expansion? Is that when they said it was modular?
Yes.
Let's say the mine opens and we get 500 families living here.
Yeah.
We're already in crisis with what we have. What's the cost going forward on that? Like, where's that contingency is 5 million, but basically if you're gonna build a plant, if Schreiber's gonna spend $30 million, that plant should hold, you should be able to have 2,500 homes on it. Then we run it at 40%. We have an event, which take it to 80, 85. You don't wanna run anything over 85%. It's just like power. You don't wanna run your, so is that plant gonna handle that capacity? And if we put 500 more homes on it, are we gonna be over that capacity?
No, so I think if you look at the plant, the new plant will be sized hydraulically to accept the same flow as the existing plant. And I think as Patrick indicated, the maximum flow that you can direct to that plant is 4,500 cubic meters in a day. the average flow on an average day is roughly 1,400. So you're flowing, and what are you flowing average now? About that? 900? Yeah, so if you look now at that plant, the average, on an average day, so through the year,
Yeah.
the flow is less than 1,000 cubic meters per day.
Okay.
So where we get into, not trouble, but where we see high flows is say in the spring, when we have a spring melt, or maybe a big rain event during the year. And we'll get a spike. And that might approach, or I think an occasion might exceed the 4,500. But what that really, there's other things to be done within the system, collection system, if we want to address that and tighten it up. So we won't reach or exceed that.
So there's room.
Yes.
In that your parameters are not restricted.
No, correct.
Okay. All right.
Right now, and we're still at the conceptual stage right now. So conceptually, we've got 4, they call them treatment trains. So we've got 4 of them. So, if we find ourselves in a position operationally where the plant might run better operating 3 of them, we'll run 3 of them. But we have that 4th for high flow scenario. And then if we do get to a point where our average day flows start to approach the 1,300 or exceed, then at that stage, the plant can be expanded with the addition of a 5th, for example.
So Johnny got 2 questions, so I want 2 questions too. So number one is there any kind of costing on what this is going to save us? I mean, I don't think there's a person in the room happy when they get their water and sewer bill. Our water and sewer bills have gone up absolutely horrendously in the last 5 years. So, I mean, if we're saving money, I hope to God my water bill's not going up. I want it going down. So that's first question.
Well, let's say that first then, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and you can talk more to the numbers, but I know, and why they're seeing what they're seeing on their water and sewer bill. I mean, there's new legislation that came into place where they've got to start charging more of an equivalent of what that's actually costing. So that might be some of what you're seeing. We haven't run specific numbers on savings, but we know we're going to have reduction in chemical use. We know we're going to have reduction in our blower operation for air in the system, to get air into that system. So we expect operational savings in those aspects for sure. And then just on a broad cost scenario, when we look over the life of the plant, say a new plant, and compare that to the life of the existing plant with improvements at a certain frequency, I think we indicated, say every 10 years or 6 to 10 years, we're going to need to keep that existing plant up. When we looked at the 40 or 50-year lifetime of a plant, going with the new RBC plant is less costly over that 40 years than limping along with the new, or with improving the existing plant. And that overlook, the broad overlook, included allowances for operational costs and maintenance costs through those 40, 50 years.
And then the last question, well, maybe I'll switch table to get some more. So this new modular plant, is that design operating, proven and running somewhere? I don't want to be the guinea pig.
Yes,
Let's try
it's
subscriber,
yes.
It's going to blow up on us and cost us more.
It's well proven over decades.
Has there been comparisons done changing to the UV? Like UV structured system, those UV lights have to be changed 6 to 12 months. Is it, I mean, I had 2 clients and I used to have to do their systems twice a year with those bulbs. And I mean, on a small residential house at 2,500 square feet, it's one thing, but they were 8,000 square foot houses. Those bulbs were $300 a piece. Then you've got your lenses in there. Like, is all that kind of stuff, has there been a price put on the long-term maintenance and changing like that kind of stuff out? Because that has to be done all the time. And costs of hydro, like is that, once you go UV, it changes. Like we might have a savings, but now we're pumping hydro that we were never pumping. And has all that kind of stuff been structured already, or?
Yeah, so I'll let Chris jump on that, but I think just the chemical savings on its own should offset it, probably on the good side for the UV. But I'll let Chris talk about the numbers.
Yeah, just in general, absolutely. I agree with Patrick. When you're chlorinating to disinfect, you're not just chlorinating now. The law is you have to chlorinate and then you dechlorinate. So you're using a chlorine to disinfect, and then you're using sodium bisulfate or some other chemical to remove the chlorine. So you do get a sort of a double whammy on the chemical cost saving there, acknowledging bulbs. Are you changing them once a year, UV bulbs?
In residential, just once a year, basically, but on
Yeah.
bigger systems, twice.
Yeah, so it'll depend on ultimately what the ultimate system is, right? They do have systems now that ramp up and ramp down based on flow in order to maintain a certain degree of disinfection. So I think Patrick was just indicating 12,000 hours. So, and that'll vary from year to year, right, based on the flow conditions.
So with the UV, there's also an annual third-party maintenance piece to that as well. That has to be done. That's part of regulation. So in terms of, the preventive maintenance that we can do as operators within operations is there.
That's an outside source, that's not something, that's something our public works can do, or is it has to be an outside?
No, it has to be a accredited outside third party. However, again, those chemical costs are going to outweigh that. And having that third party is a good thing because they come in, they let us know, if a unit's going obsolete, if parts are still available, if parts aren't available, all those kinds of things. So it's a good value, and it does keep the unit, basically maintenance free, right, for that piece of it. But definitely the chemicals is a huge cost right now.
Any other questions?
So one more, no, what did you have first?
So Chris, just by the amount of contingency, the 25%, it tells me that it's just strictly a budgetary estimate when it comes time for putting the proposals forward. I'm just wondering, what's the time frame in order to have the finalized design, layouts, and so on, do the final costing kind of ready to bid?
Yeah, so the 25%, as I understand, was a number that was baked into the application.
Yes.
So whatever number you came up with, the application had a 25% sort of baked right in there. So I think normally, if we're picking a 15%, that's kind of high. We normally go 10 to 15.
So are you telling me that we have a detailed design already?
No, so we got 25%, I just wanted to clarify, it's baked into the application. That's not something we sort of came up with.
Government, right?
Yes.
Stipulation of the government.
Right. It was. Yeah. I think there's a sunset on the funding in March 29, is that?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're through design, we're shooting to be into the approval application the fall of this year.
Yeah.
So that'll get to the Ministry of the Environment for approval. And assuming a 6-month turnaround with the MOE or MECP, which might be tight. If we get that 6 months, we'll be constructing late summer, it's tendering. So late summer of next year.
But from a final design perspective, when does that happen? When do we know exactly what it's going to look like? You started off with one design, have another design. Just wondering when
I think
everything's
these are concepts, so concepts evolve.
True, no question, but when does the concept going to stop and this is the...
So final design needs to be completed before an application is made to the Ministry of Environment, so that's fall of this year. Fall, November maybe?
Yeah, November.
I think it's November is the schedule.
Okay, then, the other question, I guess, is more for council. At what particular point in time will we have another review of where we are in the process, and then ultimately understand what the total cost is? Because I'll have a whole bunch of questions like who's going to maintain quality and so on. Obviously, as a township, we don't have that expertise. We would have to have some type of outside sources, assuming that the costs include that outside Q&A kind of organization to make sure that what we say we want, we're actually going to get.
So there is a steering committee regarding this project. So it's made up of a mix of Aqua is part of it because they're the people that's going to run this new plant. They run our current plant. They will continue to maintain the new plant when it's up and going. It's a mix of council, them, and administration. and the engineers. And the Ministry of Environment is on the committee as well.
But the engineering company will have a Q&A and ensure that what we said we're going to get, we're actually going to get. Correct, Chris? Or is that?
Well, the committee, the steering committee will be monitoring that for sure.
I encourage the steering committee to seek outside resources to make sure that we get what we want. Because I've seen too many quality issues in any project.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep it in mind for sure.
Completion date is when? When are we currently done? Switching the valve, so the poop goes that way, not that way.
Right, so with a 6-month Ministry of the Environment approvals turnaround, we're commissioning in August 28th. Yeah, so that's, again, so Patrick was just indicating, that just, I mean, Ministry of Environment turnaround, we've got them on our steering committee, and obviously, one of the reasons is to ensure that we're staying on track with respect to what their requirements are, so that we can shorten up and tighten up that turnaround on their approvals as much as we can. If you hit the Ministry of the Environment, they'll say out of the gate, their standard turnaround time is 12 months. But by keeping them on board, and there are tools or requests that can be made, or streamline or priority reviews that can tighten that up. So we think a healthy 6 months in there for their turnaround.
And they understand where our plant is right now.
100%.
$1 billion time bomb could go off to more water.
Absolutely, you're correct.
To that, if we're right now projecting 28, is that what you're saying? 28, that this thing, we're gonna cut the ribbon and it's gonna run in 20?
August 28th.
So I'm a contractor and I put a package together and I quote your job. It lasts 30 days. We're projecting this thing coming in at $29 million today. What's it gonna be in 28? Like that $5 million is gone. That 25, that's why the government put it there. That $5 million is gone. We're 3 years in. But still, are we looking at a $30 million cost, or are we looking at a $34 million cost?
No, definitely, what we've discussed with Crescent Engineering, this is our budget. Like, we cannot go outside of this budget. That's why we had that 25% contingency in there. So this is it.
So our plant's gonna run this year, all of next year, and probably all of 28, because we're gonna be in the fall of 28.
That's right.
That cost, separate from this,
That's right.
and it's already cost us in the last 3 years $1.2 million. So let's say that's another $1.2 million. That comes not out of this. Everything that changes, our costs aren't going down. Like, it's ridiculous what it costs me to build a house today. What, is there any projection that council or the engineering company has done to show a percentage of costs? 16%, 17, 20? I mean, that 25% that's built in by the government is there because these projects take anywhere from 24 to 36 months. So realistically, we're talking about a $30 million plant today, not projected. What is that percentage, and who's going to be responsible for that? If there's 8 million that has to be raised today, what does that 8 million look like in 3 years?
So I want to go back to the slide with the application here. So the plant itself, without the engineering, was 20 million. So as you can see, like as it's broke down, with that contingency of 25%, that should more than cover any increase.
That 20 million is today. They're not building it 2 more years. That 20 million, I guarantee that 20 million will be 26 by the time they put shovels in the road.
What do you think, Chris?
I think when the initial estimate was put together, which was earlier this year.
24 is when we
Yeah,
started.
so we did, right, so we did project it out. I'd have to check how far we projected it out, but it's not a
That's a
today
number
dollar.
we should know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, we projected it out to get to the 20.
To get to
Yeah, yeah.
year 28.
Right.
You've got that built in on that 20 million.
Pardon?
On that 20 million cost, that projection is from 3 years from now?
Probably, I'd have to check exactly when it was for. I think it was 3 or 2 or what it was.
Pretty important number.
It was 2 years? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. Feel free to wander, look at the boards, and have some coffee and some treats.
About a week ago, I had no idea this was even in the works, but I'm pretty pleased that the government's, local government has done the work, and that the provincial government are throwing in some money. I mean, they know it has to be done, and I look forward to the project being completed.
It was very well done. It was presented excellently.